But these people don't care about this country. This continuing resolution, this new budget, this is purely out of spite. These people, and we're going to get, if we open it up to, we get calls from liberals on this program and be happy as hell that we're all so mad about it. They don't care about the country. They care about beating us. All they care about is beating us. We are their biggest enemy. And they'll take the country down the tubes if that means beating us. And that's exactly what this is all. They cannot be trusted with the stewardship of leading this country. No one in the Democrat Party. I don't care who they are. No one. And you got to throw some Republicans in that list as well. This is simply outrageous. Now, I need to offer a minor correction. I said we talked about the Washington Post, ABC News healthcare poll yesterday. We didn't. It was another poll. What we mentioned yesterday was the ABC News Washington Post poll result that showed 2/3 of Americans favoring the tax deal, which is also bogus. The truth of the matter is the Washington Post did not report one word about the health care questions in their own poll. They did not report that 70% of the American people want to repeal some or all of it. We didn't talk about the health care questions yesterday in the Washington Post ABC poll. We talked about the fact that 2/3 are for the tax deal, which we don't buy either. They didn't mention the health care part, and they still haven't reported it. It has been found by others in their own poll. 70% of the American people want to repeal all or some of Obamacare. Washington Post ABC News poll. They still have not reported that. Here's something else from the Washington Post. Poll finds voters not impressed with Republicans' House takeover. That hasn't happened yet. This is from Andrew Malcolm, the Los Angeles Times. With Republicans still 20 days away from taking control of the House of Representatives, the Washington Post could no longer resist delivering the polling news that Americans are not yet convinced the GOP is the party for them. The headline in their story is "Public Not Yet Sold on GOP." Well, the GOP's not running Congress yet. We got a poll from the Washington Post which says the American people don't like the job the Republican Congress is doing. The only problem is there isn't one yet. The Republicans aren't running Congress. This is journalistic malpractice. It's worse than journalistic malpractice. I don't know what it is, but it's worse than that. Imagine waiting for the 63 new House Republicans to actually take the oath of office on January 4th and maybe find their seats. How about letting that happen before polling on what kind of job they're doing? With Democrats controlling the presidency and the Senate, the newly elected Republicans have yet to accomplish a single meaningful thing. The public apparently knows it. As a result, just 41% of those polled by the Post-ABC News survey regard the Republican takeover as a good thing. Just 41%. 30% say it doesn't matter. 27% have already decided it's a bad thing. Mr. Malcolm suggests that next week's media poll will be how pathetic the 2012 Republican presidential nominee already is, when there isn't one. So, this is what we find ourselves up against. This is why. Like Snerdley told me after the program yesterday, I couldn't figure out why you were spending 2 hours on no labels. And then I'm glad you took it on. Because it's because of bullcrap like this. Because these are the people that make up the no labels crowd. The no labels crowd are part and parcel with polling data like this. Yeah, let's poll the job the Republican Congress is doing. Yeah, let's do that, and then we'll report it. So you go out and you ask people, how are the Republicans doing running the House? Well, who's going to say they enjoy it? Except the Republicans aren't running it. I don't know, in my memory, in terms of mainstream journalism, reporting or polling, I don't know if I've ever seen anything like this. This is an undisguised, purposeful effort to impugn and discredit an entire political party that has not yet even been sworn into office. And this is why I blanch when I run into these Republicans that want to be moderate and bipartisan, try to forge a way to get along here, compromise. How the hell do you compromise with liars? How do you compromise with people who will do this in the media? We got to do something to make the media report honestly. Oh, really? You think that's ever going to happen? I've constantly chided people. If you're going to wait for the news media to be fair with us as a sign of your happiness or as a measure of it, you're going to be miserable for the rest of your lives. Apparently, a couple things are going on here. The Democrat Party is determined to destroy our country as founded. Republicans are divided on the issue. How in the name of Sam Hill can you have even Bob Bennett, as bitter as he must be, Susan Collins, as out to lunch as she must be, how in the world can they side with technical lawlessness, which is what this lame duck Congress is? Imagine the Washington Post's outrage if Tea Party candidates were already calling the shots without having been sworn in. Mr. Cuccinelli, the Attorney General of Virginia, had a great question the other day regarding health care and the mandate that everybody buy health insurance. He said, what would your reaction be if Congress passed a law mandating that everybody buy a gun? What do you think the national reaction to that would be? Well, there's crime taking place everywhere. Just people, everybody's engaging in health care. Well, everybody's running up against crime. It happens every day. You never know when it's going to happen to you. So we in Congress are mandating that you buy a gun. Or we will penalize you. If you don't buy a gun, we're going to hire 16,000 IRS agents to track you down and make sure you buy a gun. Or we're going to penalize you and fine you if you don't. Do you think there will be any support for that? And yet it's the same principle, folks. Can the government force you to buy a gun? Universal reaction. No way. But when you ask, can the government force you to buy health care? Well, let me think about that, Mr. Limbaugh. This could be a deeply intellectual proposition. And let's look at the market circumstances and the day-to-day transactions occurring in the healthcare field. Now, you see, Mr. Limbaugh, everybody is accessing health care and the healthcare industry at some point in their lives, practically on a daily basis. And if these people are going to access without paying for it, well, we have a problem. Okay, so on that basis, since everybody's accessing health care, we're going to damn well make them buy an insurance policy. That's right, Mr. Limbaugh. That's the only thing fair to keep everything economically on the up and up. Fine. All right. Then, Mr. New Castrati, we have people faced with criminal situations each and every day, many of them unarmed, and they're faced with it. And the economic impact of crime can't be debated. It's an albatross. It costs people their lives. So did the health care industry, Mr. Limbaugh. Fine, okay, fine. You want to make everybody buy health insurance, Mr. Castrati, we're going to pass a law that says you have to buy a gun. It's not the same thing, Mr. Limbaugh. Guns kill. So do diseases. It's a great question from Attorney General Cuccinelli. But just imagine if the Washington Post, let's assume here, and this is not a bad analogy. Let's assume that the Republicans in this lame duck session bring in the 63 new freshmen, and they allow them to take part in the proceedings. Now, they may not get to vote, obviously. They're not official members of Congress. But they're going to be. It's just a matter of days, and they're going to be members of Congress. So they're brought in. They're allowed to study. They're allowed to listen to the debate. And, in fact, they're even allowed to attend committee meetings. Well, same thing happening here. A bunch of people that have been diselected, a bunch of people have been defeated, a bunch of people who aren't going to be in the next Congress are participating in legislation affecting this country next year. So imagine the Republicans bring in all the new Tea Party victors, 63 of them, and allow them to participate in the lame duck. Can you imagine the outrage the Washington Post, the New York Times, and all the media would have over that? Imagine. Imagine the conniption fit they would have if Tea Party candidates were already calling the shots. Look at this Washington Post headline. Forget Tea Party rhetoric. Pork barrel politics is back. That's from Dana Milbank. And it starts this way. Dear Tea Party voter, you've been had. That is from Dana Milbank. Of course, he's happy about it. He's not worried about it. He is happy. He loves rubbing his hands. Hey, you hicks. Hey, you throwbacks. Hey, you Neanderthals. Guess what? You've been had. My guys are running rings around you while you're not here. They're working on budgets and spending bills. You think you won the election? Ha! You're just a bunch of rubes. Dear Tea Party voter, you've been had. The media is loving every moment of this. Another line from Milbank's piece. Many Tea Party favorites, meanwhile, have discovered the appeal of Washington lobbyists' cash and advice. So now the effort's underway. The Tea Party guys are no different than anybody else. They're coming in and they're compromising their principles and going for the money and the parties with the lobbyists. Today's media theme is the Tea Party has already sold out. Tea Party, that's Dana Milbank. Tea Party has already sold out while the Tea Party voter has been had. So an all-out effort is being made to discredit the Tea Party winners and the Tea Party voters. Not even there yet. Not even there yet. You idiots. You rubes. And while all that's going on, the Democrats are trying to pass a continuing resolution, i.e. a budget that will determine this nation's spending next year. Heritage Foundation has weighed in on this today. Their morning bill. Call Reid's bluff. Gallup released a poll this morning showing the American people dislike this 111th Congress more than any Congress ever. In fact, that's good to point out. Congress approval, this Congress, 13%. I can't believe it's that high, but it is. Specifically, a full 83% of Americans disapprove of the way Congress is handling its job. Only 13% approve. The worst approval rating in more than 30 years of tracking congressional job performance. Call Reid's bluff. There is no popular support for this Congress. There's no popular support for Reid. No popular support in the country for Pelosi. Call her bluff.